And away we go. Welcome everybody. My name is Danny Moss and I work with the lovely and talented Chris Gonsalves, whom most of you in the room know. We are both ATA staff officers on the professional development team, and it's our pleasure to be here with you this afternoon to do some more hands-on stuff, learning about using Microsoft Teams with students. So there are ways we're going to do. I'm going to do a lot of demo today, and if you kind of have Teams running in the background, or whether it's through your web browser or the Teams application, they both work very similarly. Slight differences with the Teams application, a couple more options related to video. Anyways, if you want to try and do as we go, that's great. I do have a slide deck here that you're welcome to make a copy of in a moment as well. So with that, let's get rolling shortly after our land acknowledgement. So Alberta Teachers Association acknowledges that Treaty 6 territory, and I guess, Chris, would it be Treaty 7 in Lethbridge, or 8, Treaty 7? So Treaty 7.
Treaty 7 in Lethbridge.
All right, I should have had the Treaty 7 up today, given our audience today. So Treaty 6 is the ancestral and traditional territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, as well as the Métis. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples whose footsteps have marked these generations of these lands for generations, including the many places you're joining from. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today, and those who have gone before us. Our recognition of this land is an act of reconciliation and an expression of our gratitude to those whose territory we reside on or are visiting. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. I'm going to do the screen share shuffle. And I'm going to do it again. Sorry about this, everybody. Going to head over to my Chrome browser. All right. So if you would like to hop into these slides here, and again, if you had done the whole exit full screen thing, you might have to do that again to kind of make it all fit nicely, but I promise to not change it. Think I can keep that promise? Yeah, I promise to not change it for the remainder of the session. Let's see if I can keep that promise. Anyhow, there's a short URL, bit.ly/ATA Teams1. And if you'd like this in PowerPoint format, if you'd like to download a copy for yourself, you can download it in PowerPoint or PDF. Just go to File, Download, and then take your choice, PowerPoint or PDF. Okay, so it's up to you. No worries if you don't want a copy, but I've put some links in here to various things. I've put some videos as well, things, sort of a digital takeaway. I'll do a lot of demonstration, but this is sort of a digital handout for you for later. All right. So we're going to take a quick overview of the Teams interface, and I'll do a poll here in a moment with you to ask you sort of what background or experience with Teams do you bring to the session? Maybe it's none. Maybe you haven't used Teams barely at all with students. Maybe you're just a tiny little, maybe you're just using the video feature in Teams meetings. Maybe you're doing maybe you're a high power user using, creating assignments and collaborating with students and doing a whole bunch of stuff with them. So depending on sort of your experience level, I'll sort of try my best to modify this session to meet what your experience you're bringing to this is. So why don't we just start with that poll right now? I'll just launch it. And so what you should see pop up on your screen is a poll that asks you your Teams experience. What is your experience level working with Teams with students? Okay, so I invite you to vote, and I'll share with you those results. As you might imagine, those results are coming in a little bit mixed. With more people, we've got, I think most people have voted. So just to give you an indication, a little snapshot, I'll close that poll. There it is. I'll share those results with you to see. And so, yeah, a good majority of you have no experience. This will be wonderful. You'll get a really good start here. And there are loads of great resources out there to support you after the session, including Chris and I. We're human resources, but you're welcome to contact us at any time. We'll put our email addresses there. We can meet with you one-on-one. We can send you screen recordings. We can do follow-up sessions in your schools, even if it's just for your school division if you want. So we are happy to support you any way we can. Okay, so what I'm going to do is hop into Microsoft Teams. Now, if you'd like, you can open up another browser window and you can try this as well, but it's up to you. So I visit Microsoft Teams by just typing in teams.microsoft.com. And if you are, the other way to do it is, actually, I'm going to do it a different way. And there's a benefit to doing it this way, because if you're fairly new to this, I'm going to go to office.com. Anybody here go to office.com before? So when you go to office.com and choose sign in, this wouldn't always be my method of signing into Microsoft Office 365. I'll show you a nice little, there is a nice little perk to doing so. When you sign in, I teach one course at Concordia University of Edmonton in the winter session. So that's why you're seeing my Concordia. I wanted a Microsoft Office 365 for Education account because it shows you sort of the education specific versions here. But what's really nice about this, not only do you get all the little apps that you can launch right through your web browser, it'll show you your recent files and things you've worked on, which is super useful. And it'll also give you an option to install Office. So you may or may not have known this, but you can install, if you've got Office 365 in your school division, you can install the full Microsoft Office, the latest version, on up to at least 5 computers. And this can be children's, friends, family members. There's a little caveat to that. When you install it, the first time you open up any one of those applications, let's say PowerPoint, it will ask you to sign in with your Office 365 credentials. If it's on a child's computer or a spouse's computer, as soon as you sign in, sign back out. It'll activate the license, but then when you're signed in, the nice part of it is also the bad part of it. The nice part of it is that when you're signed into things like Word or PowerPoint, it'll show you all the recent documents and things you've worked on at school. So if that's a child or a spouse's or a friend's computer, you don't really want them to have access to your files, most recent files, and mess around with them. So just as soon as you sign that person, when you activate the license after installation, just sign up. But anyhow, back to Teams. So you can hit Teams right there. You'll also notice in Office 365, there's a little app launcher in the upper left corner. And you can get to a whole bunch of these things. Depending on what you see here, you can go to all apps and it'll just show you all the different things. And if there's something that's not showing on your sort of app launcher that you want to, you can move your mouse over to it and just click. Oh, it usually will give you the option of pinning it to the tab. So, or pinning it to up here. Anyways, that didn't work, but you can open up Teams that way, or just teams.microsoft.com. Okay. Now, when you visit teams.microsoft.com, if you have created a team before, it'll show up here as a little kind of a square card. And for every team that you're either a member of, or that you've created on your own or joined, it will show a little card here. Okay. And you'll see in my upper right-hand corner, I've got the option to join or create a team. So if you haven't tried one of these before and you'd like to, you can just click on that and then choose create a team. So I'm not sure if anybody is if you feel like just relaxing, kind of watching the session, or if you actually kind of try as you go, that's certainly an option. I'll try to walk that fine line of not going too fast, but try to show you enough decent stuff to get you going in the remaining 45 minutes that we have. Again, we're definitely open to doing follow-up sessions. So I like the class one if it's something that's meant for you and your students, and that'll be the context of our conversation today. There are other aspects of professional learning communities or staff teams. Okay, so some of them are created, as Sydney has pointed out, definitely there are ways that they can provision through PowerSchool or various other means to auto-create different teams for you. And I came from Edmonton Catholic Schools, started at ATA on December 1st of last year, but that's what they did in Edmonton Catholic Schools as well, is they auto-created. I also had the option of creating my own, but yeah, if you've got them already, that's wonderful. So I'm just gonna hop into one here, take you for a brief tour. Now, don't worry, you don't have to remember all this. And the reason why, I'm just gonna hop back over to my slides for a second. I have on the next slide a link to this. It's Teams for Education Quick Guide, okay? So you'll be able to click on that. It's a PDF that tells you the whole interface from the little welcome screen we were at to where we're about to go in sort of the conversations, post tab. There's a piece for scheduling meetings here. There's different settings, a whole bunch of stuff. More stuff than we will even get a chance to talk about today. So just a heads up that you can just sort of participate and not feel like you gotta be writing down a whole bunch of stuff at the same time. So this is the general Teams interface. And there are sort of two areas to focus on. One is this sort of all these different tabs along the top and what they can do. And there are just a couple main ones that we'll focus on. And then there's a couple of areas on the left-hand side. Now, the one I want to focus you on right now is it usually starts us off in a team. There is they have a number of different areas called channels, and within each channel we've got this area called posts. We've also got files, and there's various other things. But in this general tab, you're going to see posts, files, assignments, probably a class notebook, which we're not really going to have a whole lot of time to jump into Microsoft OneNote today. And there's a very special feature called a class OneNote, where you can do some of that assignment workflow through OneNote if you're a OneNote lover. But we can do all that assignment workflow right here in Teams as well. There's a grades piece, and there's a few extras, a little plus, where we can add a bunch of other cool third-party apps. We can add things like websites. We can add things, anybody using Flipgrid or Pear Deck or Kahoot or various other things, we bring them right into the team. So there's a lot of functionality. This can be our learning hub, okay? So I'll just stick with the posts area for right now, because that in and of itself is super powerful. So one of the easiest things to do is to just put a prompt. Now, all the people in your team, you and your students, will be able to post and reply on this. It's almost like Facebook in a way, where you can make a post and people can reply. You can add different attachments, you can add images, you can add files, you can add a whole bunch of stuff to it. So you can put these posts here, and as the person who's created these posts, I can delete it. Now, students, typically what IT department set is that students cannot delete their stuff, or even if they can, they can't fully delete it. Even if they tried to delete it, if they had posted something nasty, you know, it is logged. The IT department has it logged somewhere. If you ever had to, somebody made a threat, for example, you had to go back and take a look. You know, they can never really fully delete it. So something to just be aware of. A really handy use of this conversation area where people can post, people can reply, people can put little non-verbal symbols like emojis to respond to people's posts. Another really handy use is this little file attachment thing. Now this thing is really handy. It is automatically connected to your OneDrive. So even if, let's say, you're at home with a Chromebook, okay, it'll connect to your OneDrive and all the files you have in your OneDrive. Maybe that OneDrive is, you do most of that work back at school. You'll be able to attach any of those files. And so if I put a copy into this particular channel, it's uploading, it's uploading, it's uploading. All right, there, I'm going to say check it out. So now once it's in here, watch what happens. So one way you can work with students immediately is you can add files and get people working with those files or talking about them. So watch what happens when I open this file up. It's going to take me to sort of an editing interface right within Teams. I'm still in Teams. But the other thing I want to draw your attention to as this thing loads up is, there should be, there we go, conversation. You see that in my upper right-hand corner? So I've uploaded this PowerPoint file, and now that I have this, I can open this conversation thing. And as we're working on this PowerPoint, maybe it's a small group of students, maybe it's you and a colleague, maybe it's your whole class. We can also, I can type any communication, if I spell it right, I want. So this little sort of chat window is open on here. As we work through this, we've got our full editing interface here. When I hit the close button on that, watch what happens. So we're back in our posts area. All the things that we typed in that conversation, as we have that open, will appear sort of as a reply in that, so that it's never really lost, okay? So unlike emails back and forth, all this conversation is kind of gathered here, so it's quite nice. So I guess the first thing I want you to remember about this post area is that you can post words, you can post files, and then when you do post files and open them to work on, if you open up that conversations piece, it basically will show up the same way as it would if you hit the reply button on someone who had posted that file. So it keeps it all in one place. The other really important thing to note is when you upload a file into your Microsoft Teams, into this post area, anybody can edit this file. Okay, so students can edit this. So if there are assignments and things like that you want to send to students, and just have them view a copy of a Word document, let's say, or a PowerPoint, you don't want them to edit it, you just want them to look at it. Use it as a reference material, okay? That's totally fine, but we would use the assignments piece for that. This place is for collaboration, right? So we can upload maybe copies of things, and we can have kids very easily have everybody jump into a slide. PowerPoint is so great for being able to create digital materials. We can record our voices, we can add text, we can add pictures, we can add YouTube videos, we can add shapes. So we can almost imagine like even virtual math manipulators by dragging around certain shapes. Yeah, so it's a very powerful way. So just note that any files that you are adding here are editable by all. Now I'm going to come back to this post area in just a moment, but let me just take a moment to zip over to the files area. And the reason why I wanted to do that is you'll note that anything that I have uploaded in the post area also shows up in my files area, okay? Now there is a way, it'd probably be better for more of an advanced session, but there is a way if we hit open in SharePoint, there is actually a way where you can hit the sync button and it will synchronize those files with your Windows Explorer such that, and I don't know if you have that, many school divisions who have Office 365 will have that with their OneDrive anyways, such that in your Windows Explorer, any files that you have show up in sort of that little folder, yellow folder icon. And you can get access to your OneDrive that way. So you can do the same thing with your Teams files as well. So that is certainly an option. Not knowing exactly what environment you have in Lethbridge or wherever you're coming to us here from today, not entirely sure if that works. All right, so I'm going to go back to the post area because in addition to just posting files or posting just general comments for discussion, you can also do things like announcements. There's a really nice visual way to do some announcements. So if I go into this start a conversation thing right at the very bottom, if anybody else is in there right now, look for the little A, the little format button there. Just click that. It pops this up to a slightly larger interface, a more robust interface. But look for, instead of a new conversation, look for the one that says announcement. There it is. It's nice and large. And I can say, have a great day. Or I could say, don't forget that your math assignment is due tomorrow. Or I'll be doing a live language arts support session at 2:30 for anybody who's interested. So there it is. You've got lots of options for formatting, but the other fun part about this is when you're in an announcement, look over on the far right and you'll see select a background. They've got some very nice choose an illustration. They have some very nice built-in illustrations here. So if you like dragons, or if you like bumblebees, mountains, perhaps, there are some really nice ones built in, or you can kind of create your own, upload your own. You can even change the color scheme if you wish to. But that is that, so I can just say whatever I want for my announcement, and then I'll have to type a message of some sort. All right. And then the little paper airplane to send it, and now it's posted up here, which students can reply to. Okay, so that's an announcement. As in addition to the announcements and conversations that you can start back and forth with students, there are some other really cool features. And if you are on Teams right now, take a moment to explore the following. I'm not going to go through them in too great a detail, but there's a whole host of built-in emojis. There is Jiffy is built in. Please note, the ones that are provisioned for, you might search for some of these animated GIFs through Jiffy. And my apologies for those of you who are offended by me calling it Jiffy instead of Giphy. But I am on Team Jiffy. I don't know what you are. Chris, what are you, Jiffy or Giphy? GIF or GIF?
I'm GIF.
Ooh, I thought we could be friends. Anyways, so what you'll notice here is you might find some and you might be like, really? That's borderline. They don't have like any completely raunchy ones, but please note, the students see a slightly toned down, safer version of, so if the students want to post these, they won't see all the GIFs that you see in there. So we've got these GIFs you can choose from, and you can do a search and find anything. I really like the stickers. And there's a whole bunch of them here so that we can add on. But here's the one I really like. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Scroll down to meme, okay? And you can write your own top caption and bottom caption and basically create your own meme and just put it right into, so imagine that you're reading a novel and you wanted to say, based on this chapter, write a meme for what such and such a character would feel at this moment. So you can very quickly create your own memes and post them onto your team. There is also instant meetings, so instant video meetings. So we're going to talk a little bit about Teams meetings, which is just slightly different. They can be scheduled for video meetings. I'm not sure if anybody's using Teams meeting right now. Perhaps you are. You can indicate in the group chat if you wish to about doing any video calls through Teams meeting. But they also have this Meet Now button that basically instantly, and let me just stop my own video in Zoom, and I'm just going to show you what this looks like. So very instantly, I can join in this meeting, and if the students who are in my team, if they happen to be there at that point in time, they can see a little indication, hey, there's a meeting happening, hop in and go for it. So there's you can just do some of that instant collaboration. There is the meeting chat. There's the ability to share a whole bunch of stuff, including files, your desktop. You can even do some some other fun stuff in here. But basically, let me hang up. Go back to my team. And that was right through my web browser. Okay, so that's handy to know. It works in Chrome, it works in Edge for sure. Video chats with your class, okay. Yeah, so we're gonna come to the, as soon as we finish this interface here, we're gonna go into the Teams meeting. There's some good advice that some others have shared around that as well. But you can do that sort of instant collaboration at any point in time. There's a meet now. It's more meant for ad hoc, on the spot meetings, all right? So I'm gonna leave this interface here for now. We'll come back here when we take a look at things like assignments, okay? Back and forth workflow, but I wanted you to see just sort of the general interface here. Before I leave, I will say this. Right now, they call this a channel. Okay, here's my team, and then they make a channel called general for every team, but you can make more channels, okay? And basically within each channel, you can have posts, files, and notes, and you can even add more stuff up here, which we'll come to if we have time. Yeah. But basically, it's a way of focusing that conversation, and so some teachers will create channels for different subject areas. Some teachers will create different channels for small group work, things like that. And so you can be flexible with them. You can make new channels. You can delete channels at any point in time. But watch what happens when I go add a channel. I don't know if there are any grade partners here or people that would have. I know that the way some school divisions have done this is that for teachers who are maybe teaching some option classes that might be reduced at this time in favor of some core subjects, there might be some additional support. So for example, that person who might have been teaching one of those, a CTS option, for example, that person might be helping somebody with teach math. So you might have a couple of teachers in your team, additional teachers. So what I want you to notice here is when you create a team, obviously the default is that everybody can see that team, but you have another option for making it a private channel. And then let's say you could add in just other teachers, or maybe you want to add in only certain students on a small group collaboration team to see and access that channel, that private channel. So you obviously as the teacher would have full access to all the channels, but you can set restrictions is what I'm trying to say. The final thing I'll say about channel creation is that you can just click this little box to make it show up in everybody's channel list, okay? I would recommend you do that. So I'm just gonna leave this wide open. I'll just call it science. And then if there's any science related discussion, or it's more for discussion and for maybe those ad hoc meetings, files, but it's just a way of organizing it so it's not just one huge stream, all right? But that's about it for that right now. I'm going to leave this and go into the meeting feature, Teams meetings, because I think a lot of teachers are using Teams meetings with their students. Now there is an educator out there named Alice Keeler. She's been working with digital technologies for many years. She's got a really great, I've got a link here to a playlist for Teams meetings. So you've got setting up those calls. So just rest assured that when we go through this whole setup here, you have something to fall back on in terms of some support. So to make a Teams meeting, I can do it a couple of different ways. I can go into my calendar that's built right in here, and this should be linked to your Outlook calendar. But what you can do right within Teams is you can choose new meeting. So let's say you want to set up some live support for 2:15 this afternoon for those students who want to get some help with their math. All right, I'm going to say Thursday math support live. So I'll change it from 2 o'clock to 2:15. And it doesn't really matter when you set a start and end time. It's not going to shut it off as soon as, it's not going to shut off your meeting as soon as that end time expires. In fact, those meeting links never expire. So the one thing I want you to notice here is you don't even have to necessarily invite anybody, because what you can do is you can right down here add a channel. So depending on, you'll have a whole list of Microsoft Teams that you have, and you can pick a team and pick a channel. So let's say I want this to go, remember I had created, in addition to general, I had created language arts, math, and science channels. So I'm going to just put this in the math channel. So it's where it's going to post it right to. And then as my students are in that team, they can just go into that math channel and say, hey, here's the posting for it. I'll just click it and I'll join this meeting. All right. So all I need to do, I don't even need to invite anyone. Now keep in mind that if this isn't for just for students, let's say you want to connect with a parent, you can put in their email address in there. And the thing I like about Teams meetings is that it is a nice way to bring in anyone. They don't have to have a Microsoft account, Office 365 account, Division account to be able to join a Teams meeting. They just need the link. So I'm going to not add any required attendees, and I'm just going to post it in my math for now. And you'll see what that looks like. So I'm just going to hit send, and it's going to chug away for a moment while it loads it into my calendar. It takes a few minutes because it's also generating a Teams meeting link within that calendar invite. Now this should automatically synchronize with your, whoops. Now I happen to be in an ATA account right now, and sorry, my Concordia account does not have Outlook. So let me just demo this very quickly. This is my ATA Teams. So if I just say, I can choose a channel, and I can hit send, and you see it chugging away there. It's creating itself in there. And then in that team, as soon as it's done, I'm going to go into my teams here. Here is my team, and I go into math, and there it is.
Danny, we're not seeing your screen right now.
Oh,
We're
shit.
only seeing your Concordia screen.
Remember that promise I made everybody about not having to make you go through the screen share dance again? Sorry about that. I'm going to do that now. My apologies, everybody. So let's go through that process again. In Microsoft Teams, I hit the new meeting. I go to my calendar, I hit the new meeting, and I can say math help, and I can choose that channel that I want it to be posted in. Here's my Mr. Moss grade 5 class. I want to post it right in that math channel if I have a bunch of channels, or you can just leave it in the general channel of any team you want. So that is something, if you want to connect to students, pick a channel to post that into. If it's something where you want to connect with other staff members or parents, you don't have to do that. You can invite attendees through the email thing here, or you don't have to invite anybody at all, and just hit send. And what will happen is once it's created that calendar entry, there will be a meeting link that you can share with anyone. Okay, but for our purposes, because in this example, we would be using this with students, I've chosen to post it right through a team. And those little chimes you might be hearing in the background is my Outlook saying, hey, everybody, you've set this for 2 o'clock and it's 1:40, so you should come and join this meeting. So students then can see this, click on that meeting link. Here it is right here. Students can just choose the join button. Now, if you, this is a hyperlink, okay? So if you didn't want, if this was meant for parents and not for students, all you need to do is copy whatever this link is and just share that in an email with parents from your Outlook, okay? But I'm going to pretend that I'm a student, and I'm going to hit join, and I'm going to stop my own video so you can see. I'm going to turn on my webcam. This is where it gets fun, everybody. See this little thing right here? Watch this. I can choose different backgrounds for this is a very new feature. This one's been around for a little bit. This is blur background, watch this. All right, can you see that very clearly? I don't know if you can or not, but it's blurring my background automatically, right? Just no special camera, it's just a webcam on my laptop. Alternatively, I can have various other backgrounds. Okay, some of them look like classrooms, some of them do not. They can be distracting or they can be super cool, depending on how you think about it. So you don't have to have one. And just click join now. And then here we are. So now we can communicate with each other. If there's a group of people here, I can open up this chat. I can open up this list of participants, and I can also ad hoc on the fly. I can copy this join info and email it to somebody else who I'd like to join the meeting. Or if I know if it's somebody within my organization, I can just start typing their last name here, and they will show up.
Hey, Danny, quick question about the background. As the owner of a meeting, are you able to blur everybody else's background?
No, it's individual by individual, and there are some cases where the camera, for whatever reason, won't accept the different background. For example, I have a cheap USB camera on my desktop computer to my right, and for whatever reason, it just won't work with these special backgrounds. But I'm using not a high-end laptop by any means, and it is working just fine on my built-in laptop. How many students can be seen on the screen at once? That is a good question. I know it will start dividing the screen up. I don't know the full limit to that. So that would be up to you to decide whether you want students to have their video on. You can mute students' audio. Updating to 9. Thank you, Carly, for that. I know that Microsoft has made some changes recently, and I'm just going to stop sharing from here, okay?
Danny, can you change your background once you're in the call right now? So if a teacher wanted to show students how to do that, is that a potential for them?
Yeah. So the teacher could show the students, but while you are seeing this part of mine, you would just have to tell students, put your mouse over the screen. You see the 3 dots? Now do the show background effects. Okay, you'd have to kind of walk them through that because they would see the teacher, but they wouldn't see, the teacher's mouse or the actions there. Does that make sense?
Yep. Thank you.
So you're in a meeting. You can do some pretty nifty sharing. Whether it's desktop, screen 1, screen 2, if you've got more than one screen, specific applications only. So let's say you don't want to show your whole desktop, but you just want to show that PowerPoint file you have open for instruction. Do that. There's a whiteboard as well that we're not really going to go into too great a detail with, aside to say that you have this collaborative whiteboard space. And basically, you can do digital inking on here. It is a collaborative space, so everybody in the space can do it. I don't know how useful you would find it, really. We won't go too great a depth into what this whiteboard does. I'm not seeing a tremendous number of people using it, but just know that it is available.
Danny, question as well. We last week did a workshop with a math teacher who was showing the digital whiteboard feature in Zoom, and he just joined with his iPad as a second owner to the meeting, and was then able to actually write on his iPad and use that as the whiteboard. Can you have a second owner in a Microsoft Team meeting where you could join with your secondary device and use that as a screen share instead?
Yeah, I've never seen that work.
Okay.
I've never seen that work. Let's see. In Microsoft Office 365, you can only be connected to one of these, whether it's Skype for Business or Teams video. You can only be connected one instance of yourself. So that part doesn't work, unfortunately. But
and then another question. Mm-hmm. Another question that came up through the chat just now was, Can you show how to end the meeting so that it kicks off all the students after the meeting, or is there a way to allow them to stay on after you leave or choose to stay up, kick off after you leave?
So I'm going to hang up at this point, and I'm going to break my promise again and go back to my web browser. Sorry about that, everyone. And I want to show you some things that are coming. There are some new features that are coming. Just bear with me. Do screen share again. All right, so I want you to notice there are some things that are coming. What is coming soon? Let me just copy and paste that. I'll put that in the group chat. One second. All right, you should see a link in there. This is Mike Thompson. He's a great guy to follow. If you are a Twitter user, he's an active user. He's their educational lead in the States. Very knowledgeable, very helpful guy. And basically, they're talking about some things that are coming very soon. And so there are some things coming very soon for to be able to force students out. There's also a waiting room that's going to happen, such that if students try to join a meeting before you, they'll be put into a waiting room. It says April, so I mean, April 30th today. So let me just zoom in on this a little bit. These are some of the things that are coming. Did not zoom in as much as I thought it would. There we go. So these are some things that are coming, ending the meeting. Oh, it is rolled out. So let's take a look at that. Yeah, so there is a way to do that. When you end that meeting, that will end it for all. So students won't be able to stay on there after you. So that's good to see that one has rolled out. In terms of the custom video background, I've got it. I think you should have it. It's rolling out. The raising hands 3x3 video support somebody asked for, so there'll be 9 videos at a time. And only educators can start the meeting. That is, it says coming in April, and it's April 30th. So hopefully that should be here very soon if it's not already. There is a chance that it didn't kick your kids out today. Yeah. So there is a chance that would be in the settings that the IT would have to do. Yeah, I'm not sure. Sometimes these updates might just be a little bit delayed from Microsoft. I can't really speak to that for certain. It's 1:48, and I want to show you a couple more features. Just know that there are, on this slide 5, there is a link to a YouTube channel from Alice Keeler where there are lots and lots of specific minutia about controlling the different aspects of Teams meeting, okay? And Alice has done a great job of that. Now I want to show you, and I've got a screen recording of myself here demonstrating the assignments piece, but I'll just do a quick demo for you. You may, in your teams, have interest in doing assignments, back and forth workflow with students. It's really easy to do, and it's super helpful. Let me just quickly run you through that. You can kind of get to it one of 2 ways. You can go to the team that you want to do your assignments with and look along the top, middle, to assignments. Okay. The other option you have is you'll see a little backpack symbol along the left side of your navigation. And that would be something that would be a little more inclusive of all the classes. You'd be able to pick which class you want, and then it would show all the assignments for that particular class. So whichever is easiest, you can go into those assignments, and I'll just give you a quick overview of how that works. It's really, really basic and easy. So as you might imagine, let me just see if I can zoom in a little bit more. All right. You enter your title of your assignment. You can enter any instructions you might have. This is the good part, adding resources. So let's say I have a template that I want for sort of a shell of a PowerPoint, or maybe a Word document with some questions on them, and I want to I want to give my students their own copy to work with. So I can just hit attach. By default, at least in mine, the default is students cannot edit this. So if it was something you just wanted them to view, no problem, leave it as it is. But what you can also do is students can edit their own copy. In other words, it would make their a copy of that for each student and act as a template where they could fill in, and it's now connected and shared from the teacher to the student. And then when the student is done, they hit a turn in button and they can send it back. You can add in multiple resources, so it doesn't have to be just one file. You can add in things like links to websites, maybe it's a YouTube video, maybe it's another website with an article of information. Perhaps you're using a tool like Flipgrid and you want to share a link to the Flipgrid page where that particular topic is, or any other tools. You can also, on the fly, create a brand new Word document, PowerPoint, or Excel, a blank one, and have it attached to that assignment. If you do happen to use Class Notebook, you can pull in different sections or pages from any part of your class notebook. There also, you can pull things in from your OneDrive, or even if you've had file attachments or resources from another team. Let's say you've got 2 sections of a math grade 8, and you can go into your, find a resource that you'd posted into the other grade 8 math class and bring it into this particular one. So whenever you're ready with your resources, you can decide whether you want points or not. There is a rubric tool. You can upload a CSV Excel spreadsheet, but what you'll see here is it starts off, let me just zoom out a little bit. It starts off as a 4-point rubric with 1 criteria, and you can fill it in from scratch. You can reuse rubrics. Once they're saved in Microsoft Teams, you can reuse them. And so this is an option for you if you like using rubrics. You can add a 5th column or more. I don't know how you can get down to 3 columns if you're a 3-column rubric person. But one interesting thing is when you start adding a 2nd row, you can now, if you're adding points to these, you can distribute. Let me zoom in again a little more. You can say, you can even adjust the weighting of that particular rubric. I want this rubric to be 70%, or this for content and organization, I want to be 30%, or whatever you want. Okay, so you can choose a rubric piece if you would like to. If you typically would assign it to all students, but if you didn't want to, you could choose a drop-down list and exclude or include just the students you want. And then setting due dates is an option. If you want to allow late turn-ins, I think it will be on by default. You can also, here's another thing I really like. When you are setting the due dates, look at this, schedule to assign it in the future such that it won't even show up on your Microsoft team until a future time. So if it's Thursday, you want to set up some work for next week, some assignments, but you don't want them to show up for the kids yet, schedule to show up at a specific date and time. I want this to start at, I want it to schedule on Monday, and I want the due date to be Friday. So it's not going to show up on the team until Monday. All right, see you later. Thanks for joining, Jesse. And you can, so that assignment workflow is very easy to do. If you kind of get caught halfway through creating this and you don't have time to finish it, you can just hit save. But once you are ready, you can just hit assign. Now, another nice feature is, remember that scenario where we have multiple sections of one class that you might be teaching? Well, there's another nice feature in that assignments list that I'll show you, and it's create, and this time from existing. So let's say I assigned to Math 8A an assignment, I went through it, I did it all. Rather than starting from scratch, I'm in Math 8B team now, and I'm gonna just choose from existing and go find that assignment that I just spent lots of time creating, and just instead of having to recreate it from scratch. put it in, pull it from a different team and save myself some time. So that is the assignments piece. One other piece I wanted to show you before we left is that in addition to my main suggestion for you getting started is think about whether you'd like some back and forth student collaboration with these posts. Think about whether you'd like some back and forth assignment workflow. Not only can you create these assignments with attachments, but you can also, we're kind of out of time unfortunately, you can create a quiz using Microsoft Forms, sort of an auto-gradable quiz on the fly. So you can use the posts, use the assignments, would be my main suggestion. A lot of people are using the Teams meeting as well for meeting with students. The other thing I might consider using is this little tab along the top, the little plus. So in any particular channel you have, you can create these tabs of additional stuff. So a website is a very common one. So if you want them to go, let's say to, I want them to go to the ATA library. I want to put in a whole bunch of websites for my grade 6 science. I can go to my ATA library and find all the great to learn websites that we have. And so I want to take this website here, copy it, and in my Microsoft team, I've added a website. I could say Science 6. And I'll just paste the website address here. It'll pop it in, and then the whole website is brought right into my Teams, okay? It just is another tab up here. So that's a common one, but there are other ones as well. For example, Flipgrid, if you are using Flipgrid and you have the flip code for a particular topic or for your whole class, a whole grid, you can embed that right in there, and it makes it nice as well. So those would be the other pieces that I would certainly consider using. And finally, before we go, I want to definitely show you how you can manage your team. So right next to the group name, there are 3 dots. Some people call them the Timbits. Go into Manage Team, and you'll see some options here, okay? The ones I want to draw your attention to are your members. Now, let's say there's a user who's not really communicating appropriately in that posts area. You'll see under your members, you'll see the little checkbox where you can mute that student temporarily and say, you know what, we're going to try it again maybe next week. You just cool your jets for a little while. We're going to mute you for a little while. You can read everything in here, but you can't post or reply. So that's certainly an option for you to keep in mind. You've got a couple of channel settings in here as well. Do you want them visible just for you? Do you also want students to see them, or do you want them hidden from students, that kind of thing? The other thing is settings. Under these, so again, we've gone to the name of the group here, Manage Team, and then go into settings. We can do everything from picking a different theme. You can see I've got this little maple leaf here, but there are different themes. Some different member permissions. And there's a few other things in there as well, but that would be the main thing you'd want to do in that. You certainly can look at your analytics and see how many people are coming to your team, how often it's getting used. But just be aware that that does exist. Next to the 3 dots, next to the name of the team, choose Manage Team. That's also the place, as a reminder, that's also the place to add in your channels. So I've got lots of extra resources here for you. I've got a short video from my former colleague, Christine McKee from Edmonton Catholic, where she has given some suggestions for some of those successful Teams meetings, and she shows you how to go through some of those settings, how to mute students, as I've just mentioned to you, so that's a nice takeaway if you'd like. And in terms of more resources, there are lots of additional resources where you can go further and learn more. The Microsoft Education Center is awesome. And I will share with you this link, education.microsoft.com. There are all these little mini courses that take half an hour, 2 hours. You earn badges. There's video driven. It's kind of on your own time, at your own pace kind of thing, on all different Microsoft tools, you name it. So anything Microsoft, including Teams, but not limited to Teams. So Minecraft, OneNote, Flipgrid, you name it. There's all sorts of numerous free courses and stuff like that. I don't believe students can start their own meetings without the teacher in the team anyways. Can they use their own Teams meetings? The one thing that students can do on their own, let's just take the last couple minutes. It is 2 o'clock, so that is the end of our official time. So thank you. I understand if you can't stay any longer, but for those of you who can, I'll answer some questions that you might have if I have answers to. This Teams chat piece right here is something that I'm hearing that students are using a lot. I'm not aware of how to limit them. Students can just say, they can add in groups of their own friends, any other users they might have, and then they can message each other very similar to what you were seeing in that Teams. They can also turn on video, turn on their audio as well, and you may not even know about it. So I would tell students that everything you type, even if you try to delete it, is being logged by our district. So that would be a reminder to students on that, but just a heads up. And my advice is just have your parents monitor best they can. Say, just be aware, parents, there is this chat tool here. And so from time to time, go into your chat and see what your child is doing. So that would be that.
And can they chat with anybody in the corporate address book? So they could send a message to teachers, former teachers, other students, is that correct?
Sometimes teachers' names are kind of hidden. IT can hide such that teachers can't reach out, students can't reach out to teachers, but it is certainly possible.
They're not hidden in Lethbridge. I've had several teachers or several students contact me.
There you go.
That I am not teaching this year.
That's right. So yeah, it does look like anybody within the organization, within the school division. Yeah.
Is that something that the director could turn off if he wanted to, or is that just a built-in feature of Microsoft?
I'm not aware of how to turn off the chat feature. It's possible behind the scenes that could be turned off. It can be a useful way for teachers to work with small groups. For example, teacher types in 5 names of students that maybe struggled on the last exam and wants to work with a small group, and they could go back and forth and very, very quickly and easily get the help they need. But it can also be a tool that can be abused very easily. Outside of a team. So even if you don't want to participate and do the full Teams thing, again, that Teams meeting or the Teams chat, I know that teachers themselves are often using this calls feature. It's very similar, these in terms of the meetings and stuff like that. They all have very similar features in terms of typing, video, audio, screen sharing, that kind of thing. So sorry about that. I've kept you a few minutes overtime here. That short URL, once again, bit.ly/ATA Teams1, and you can then make a copy, file download either as PowerPoint or PDF. If you'd like the links, I've given you even more stuff that we haven't had time to talk about here today. If you're interested in sort of a Teams, Microsoft Teams kind of going further, going to the next step, going in a little more depth on things we hadn't done before, keep that in mind. But I've got lots of other great people you can follow. These 2 ladies in the States, they call themselves the Jenna Lee. They're kind of a combination of both their names. They're great. Edmonton Catholic has a lot of great resources I've shared there as well. And of course, Chris and I can always be called upon as well. So thank you very much, everyone. Been a bit whirlwind for the last hour and 5 minutes, but hopefully you get at least a sense of what Teams can do. And with the recording, hopefully you can refer back to her. Just drop us an email or a call at any time, and we'll be happy to help you the best we can.